This week, I've been speaking to a couple of clients with dogs who have hip dysplasia. One dog was diagnosed recently with advanced hip dysplasia, and the other one was diagnosed with early onset hip dysplasia, so very early stages. And so in this little video today, I thought I would share with you some background material about hip dysplasia, but also how we can support dogs who have hip dysplasia using natural and holistic strategies. So to start off with, what is hip dysplasia? Basically, it's like a bone deformity or a joint deformity that happens during growth, where the hip joint, the ball and the socket, they're not growing at equal rates. And so that can then create looseness in the joint, which can then go on to cause degenerative joint disease and osteoarthritis. Basically, it can be quite uncomfortable for your dog. It can be painful. There can be inflammation. It can restrict their movement, their basic, their ability to walk, run, play, enjoy life. So usually the standard approach with a dog who has hip dysplasia is going to be some anti-inflammatory medication. Now, anti-inflammatory medications can be, over the long term, can be quite damaging in terms of overall health. There can be negative side effects down the track. And so for someone like me, an animal naturopath who teaches people about how to care for their animals holistically, I'm looking at hip dysplasia in a different light. So I look at it in terms of what part of the body is impacted by this condition. So I'm not treating the condition, I'm supporting the body that's impacted. So in this case, it is the musculoskeletal system. It is the bones. It is the muscles, because when there's that deformity in those bones, that can create, the muscles might need to work harder to hold on to give that firmness to those bones. So we want to be supporting the skeleton. We want to be supporting the muscles. We also want to be supporting, this is Max. Hi, Maxie. Likes to come up when I'm doing my videos. What was I saying? We want to be supporting both, so bone and muscle, skeleton and muscle, musculoskeletal system. We also want to be providing some support with regard to managing inflammation. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to do that from a natural and holistic way? Before I get into that, I will say that usually hip dysplasia won't be the only thing that's going on with an animal. There may be other things going on as well. And so I'm going to be looking at those things also. First of all, I will look at diet. How can we optimize the diet? Even though, someone might come to me because their animal has hip dysplasia, I'm still going to look at what can I advise the client to do in terms of optimizing the animal's health. I'm not just focused on the hips, on the hip dysplasia, because there's going to be other aspects of that animal's life, other things that animal is exposed to that could possibly be contributing. So if we can optimize the health foundations, we can help to relieve and slow the progression of that condition. So what I'll be looking at is feeding a whole food, species appropriate, real food, human grade diet. And so in the plans that I create for my clients, I provide for them a personalized plan specific to their animal, which is based on those principles of containing real human grade, clean, whole foods that designed specifically for the species. And so what we're looking at with species appropriate food is what has the species of the animal eaten for the longest period of time? What has the dog's ancestors eaten? What did the dog's ancestors eat? What did the cat's ancestors eat, right? That's going to tell us what the best diet is for a cat or a dog, because their body is designed to eat that way. That's what they've been eating for the longest period of time as a species. And so they're literally designed to eat that kind of diet. And that's not going to be a diet that is highly processed, that is like dry, kibble, biscuit type food, that has had the life cooked out of it. There is no nutritional value left. The only nutritional value that remains is being added to the food in the form of synthetic vitamins and minerals and what have you. So we're looking at replicating that natural, that wild, that biologically appropriate, species appropriate kind of diet that the cat's ancestors ate, the dog's ancestors ate. Replicating it as closely as possible as we can with what's available to us, right? What's available where we live, what's available within our budget, what our animals like to eat, right? Because we can't force our animals to eat a particular food. So we do need to take that into account as well. Now, feeding your animal a whole food species appropriate diet is going to help optimize their health. It's going to strengthen their health foundations. When you're thinking about something like hip dysplasia, where there can be inflammation, which, is an immune response, feeding that clean species appropriate diet is going to have benefit with regard to inflammation. If your animal is eating a processed diet, they're probably already going to have a certain level of inflammation within their body. So by improving their diet and changing it over to a real food, whole food, species appropriate diet, you can relieve some inflammation. It might be if your animal's been eating a processed diet that they're carrying excess weight. With a joint condition like hip dysplasia, you don't want your animal to be carrying excess weight, because that's going to have a greater impact on the joints. So what often happens is, I see it when an animal goes from eating a processed diet to a real food diet. If they have weight to lose, they'll lose it. So that is going to remove and reduce some of the inflammation, which is going to have that flow-on effect. What we're also going to be looking at is supplementation. Supplementation and movement. They're the two other topics that I want to cover in this video. So supplementation is going to be things like omega-3 fatty acids. You can provide that with food like small oily fish. They're really rich in those beautiful health supportive omega-3 fatty acids. But you can also use a supplement. I prefer to use marine supplement sources, whether that's a pure source of fish oil, greenlet mussel, krill oil, for a non-fish version, plankton, marine phytoplankton. The reason I prefer these over, say, plant sources is because they contain EPA and DHA that you're not going to get in those plant sources, apart from that phytoplankton. So we really need not just the alpha-linoleic acid, we also need the EPA, DHA, and even the DPA. Other things as well you'll be looking at are like glucosamine, chondroitin. So I'm always thinking, well, where do those things occur naturally in food versus giving a synthetic supplement? And you're going to get that in your greenlet mussel, for example. Any of those marine omega-3 sources, well, no, that's not necessarily true. You will get it in the greenlet mussel because it is a natural source of glucosamine and chondroitin as well. So that's omega-3 fatty acids. Then we'll be looking at, usually what I like to do is create a bespoke herbal for the animal. And what I can do is put in there herbs that are going to support the musculoskeletal system, that are going to help with reducing inflammation, that are going to provide a source of antioxidants. And antioxidants are helpful too when there's any inflammatory condition in the body. And then you might look at something like curcumin/turmeric, which is also a very powerful anti-inflammatory and pain relief food source. I always like to use the whole food rather than the active ingredient. So the active ingredient of turmeric is curcumin, but there are some products on the market that combine the two. And I think that's where you're going to see the most benefit. What else? So other things you can do, like medicinal mushrooms. All medicinal mushrooms are anti-inflammatory. If you would like to learn more about medicinal mushrooms, read the caption below. I'll put in a link to my Mushroom Magic Masterclass, which will teach you all you need to know about how mushrooms can support your animal's health. It's like reishi and turkey tail, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, they're going to be beneficial. Other things are like glutathione, coenzyme Q10, CBD can be beneficial. Vitamin C, again, I would be looking at the whole food sources of vitamin C, like camu, rosehip. And that's just a sample. There's lots of things we can do to help animals with hip dysplasia, or, let's dial it back to, putting the condition to one side. There are lots of things that we can do to help support animals' musculoskeletal system, so that they don't have that inflammation, so that they don't have that pain, so they can have that increased range of movement because they no longer have the inflammation and pain. The other thing that I would recommend in situations in any kind of musculoskeletal weakness would be some physical therapy. Lots of different physical therapy modalities that are available for animals these days. You can do chiropractic, you can do myofunctional, which is massage, you can do Bowen, you can do physio, lots of different things. And what I said to one of my clients yesterday was try them all and see how your animal responds, see if your animal's got a preference for one or the other. It might be that you're used to. Another one is acupuncture. Acupuncture can be really beneficial too. So in summary, we'd be looking at supporting them in cases of hip dysplasia. My focus is on supporting the musculoskeletal system. And because I use a holistic approach, I'm going to be looking at the diet. I'm going to be looking at how can we optimize the diet. I'm going to be looking at supplementation. What are some supplements that we can help with supporting the musculoskeletal system, with reducing inflammation, increasing range of movement, providing pain relief? Then I'm going to be looking at physical therapies. So what physical therapies are going to help to relieve any muscular tension that is going to help to increase range of movement. Exercise is valuable. It is something that you can do with your animals. However, you obviously need to take on board. You don't want to push your animal. You don't want them to be in pain. Remember that old adage, move it or lose it. That applies to animals too. So even if it is just a gentle stroll around the neighborhood, even if it's just 5 minutes a day, just to keep their body moving. And if you can learn some gentle massage techniques as well, that can be beneficial too. If you would like to learn more about some massage techniques, if you would like to learn anything more about the approach that I take with animals, perhaps you'd even like to book in for a one-on-one session with me. You can book in for an initial chat. There's no price charge for that. It is complimentary. It's just an opportunity for us to get to know each other better, for you to learn more about what my approach is when it comes to animals generally, but specifically with your animal, what I charge, what different offers that I have available. I'll put in the link to booking an initial chat with me below. Otherwise, you can check out my website at ruthhatton.com. And I am also on Instagram and Facebook. I'll pop all those links below as well. If you have any questions about the topic that we've covered today, I would love to hear from you. I hope that I've been able to shed some light and also just give you some information that you may not have heard before. You know, you may not want to use pharmaceutical medications anymore. You may want to know and learn more about natural alternatives for your animal, and I can help you with that. Thank you, and I'll see you again soon.